Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jared Grebner Show. This is Scott Kerker, along with Metamore head coach Jared Grebner. Coach, week 9 already. Last week, you traveled over to Dunlap. Pretty tough place to go and play. I thought it was kind of an odd game. Your first possession, you get the opening kickoff. You drove the length of the field. Very impressive first drive. You score. There was only 3 minutes and 14 seconds to go in the first quarter. You held the ball for almost 9 minutes. Outstanding drive. That is a time-consuming, almost a back-breaking type drive, because even though you had maybe 1 or 2 penalties in there, you're able to overcome them. I thought your team did an outstanding job, though, of driving down the field and getting a score to start the game.
Yep, that's the way you want to start. It kind of sets the tone right there that even though you're unable to make any big type of plays, but we were able to get some chunk yardage, and you're able to overcome some penalties and some negative plays in there as well, and to keep just grinding it down. And like you said, it was about a 9-minute drive, and just ate some time off the clock. Probably one of our longest drives of the season.
Oh, for sure.
And so,
as far as time goes, for
correct.
Sure.
Just to be able to execute like that and put together a drive, because you're going to have to do that, in the playoffs, possibly to eat some clock, 4-minute drill, whatever it might be, to end the game. And so, to be able to come out there and kind of establish ourselves offensively was really nice to see.
Yeah, I thought so too. However, Dunlap got the ball after the ensuing kickoff, and it took them about 3 minutes to score, and they went right down the field. I thought defensively it was a tale of two halves. I thought you had some trouble stopping them against the run. I thought you shut the pass down pretty well. The run, though, the backside running for them was pretty effective. Second half, you guys did a nice job of making some adjustments and limiting them to their drives.
That right after we have that 9-minute drive, it took them, it seemed like, about 5-6 plays to go down and score. With Dunlap, they present a lot of problems. You had to kind of pick your poison, so to speak. They got weapons on the outside, of course, with Sutter, with Marmion. Bargan can put the ball in places where only his guys can catch it. But then they have a very good line up front that protects them. It's hard to get pressure on them. But those guys up front also do a great job in the running game, opening up holes for Oldham. And he's a tough guy to bring down. He's got great quickness as well. And so they were able to establish the run in that first half. We made a couple adjustments and were able to get 2 stops there in the second half. Had a nice stop to open up the third quarter and try and set the tone and get back on the positive side of things. And our kids responded to just some slight adjustments, and like I said, we were able to get some of those stops. Unfortunately, we were unable to get some key stops when we needed them, and they came out on top.
I thought every game you guys have had to kind of become a mash unit. Again, Cam Nickel went down. You held him out the rest of the game. And so you had to kind of mix and match. I think Morrison came in and played a little linebacker for you. I thought he did a nice job for kind of getting pressed into that position at that time of the game. And I thought, as the game wore on, I thought he did a much better job as the game wore on.
Yeah, you can't say enough about Caleb. He's a consummate team player. He's a Metamore Redbird football player. Here's a guy that's played 2 positions on the defensive line, probably 3, jumping back and forth. Some of them kind of go hand in hand, but then all of a sudden, with the injury to Cam, building depth there, he jumps right back in there and he does whatever we ask him. And he's been getting more reps there in case we need him, because we know that he can always go back to his original position and be just fine, because that's just how he is. Last year as a sophomore, Caleb was a linebacker anyways, and same thing as a freshman. So it's not like he's never played that position before. He's very experienced there at the underclass level, and I think he likes that role of being able to play linebacker if need be, and he does a good job for us.
Took a 14-12 deficit into the halftime locker room. A lot of things went right for Dunlap that first half. You figured pretty good shape. Everything is going right for Dunlap, and we're still only 2 points down. You got to stop to start the second half. And then it was a little bit of a back and forth, almost a Donnybrook in there, back and forth, back and forth. And I think it was late in the third quarter, maybe early fourth quarter, you were able to push the ball across. And like you said before we went on the air, you never punted. You always were able to move the football, but there'd be a penalty or you'd kind of get behind the chains for whatever reason. And sometimes those drives would stall. And that happens. That happens in every level of football. But you were able to get the lead 18-14, and but things were looking really well then.
Yeah, we got some stops. We were able to move the ball. Defense was feeling confident. Offense was feeling confident. It's a game of, sometimes one play here, one play there, offensively and defensively. And we're working in practice to kind of clean those up to make sure things go our way. Sometimes you got to make your own breaks, and make sure that you get the outcome that you want. This game was kind of almost the opposite of last year's game versus Dunlap when we were at home. It was the same thing. It was high scoring as far as the first half was concerned. Both defenses last year kind of settled down and were at least some bent, but you didn't break and you didn't allow them in the end zone. It was kind of the same way this second half. And last year at home, the game was decided by a fumble. We just happened to be the ones that picked it up and ran it in for the go-ahead score. And we were driving there again in that second one, and it was kind of decided by a fumble on their end.
Right.
And so, they're kind of mirror images of one another as far as the game was concerned.
Just a flip and who got the advantage.
Yeah, and it was but that's how games are when you have two evenly matched teams. It's going to come down to some little things, and we just have to make sure we refine some of those little things, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, whatever it might be, in order to keep advancing in the playoffs and to put our best foot forward this week versus Centralia.
Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about your upcoming playoff, who you got pitted against, and we'll talk some more about the playoffs too after the break. But this has been kind of an odd season for you guys. You've had all your games that you've lost have been very, very entertaining. It's just a break here, a break there have gone against you, and that's been the difference of the game. Against Pekin, you made an unbelievable comeback. I believe in that second half, you guys had all the momentum in the world, and you tied it up, you took the lead, then they took it back, then you came back and took the lead again, then they got the lead back, and just a couple of just unfortunate miscues in that late in the fourth quarter, end up costing that game. But you were in that game too.
Yeah, I mean, Mid-Atlantic Conference, it's a tough conference. It's going to prepare you well for the playoffs. You look at some of the games we had, like you said, it was back and forth with Pekin. They kind of owned that first half, and we kind of dug ourselves a hole there. And then, even before that, Morton, that was a back and forth game. We were just fortunate to come out on the right end of that one, the wrong end of the Pekin one. And then it was back and forth game against Dunlap as well. We were able to take the lead. They took the lead back, and that one went back and forth. And unfortunately, we were unable to capitalize and, lost that one. But that prepares us for the playoffs. It's kind of a Week 9 playoff game. They're a playoff opponent. In 6A, and so they'll get you playoff ready. And when you guys get to the playoffs, you're only going to see good teams.
Right.
That's what the playoffs are all about. And so, we're going to have to be able to handle ourselves in games like that. And we've been in a lot of those games. We know what our kids expect, and we know how our kids handle themselves. And they've done a good job, and we continue to believe in their capabilities. They believe in themselves, more importantly, because we know how talented they are.
Why don't we take a break? When we come back, we'll talk about the player of the game, a little bit about your playoff opponent this coming Saturday, a little bit about the playoffs, and what it's going to take to beat them.
Yep.
Central Illinois, you asked for it and we listened. Germantown Grill is growing to meet customer demand, adding more dining space and a private gaming area featuring games powered by Gold Rush, the gold standard in video gaming. And Germantown Grill still has all the food and spirits that keep our customers coming back. Stop by to check out our daily specials. The game's on at Germantown Grill, where Central Illinois loves to eat. Open 7 days a week, just off Route 116.
Welcome back to the Jared Grebner Show again, and I want to thank Jake and Sarah Adkins for allowing us to do the Jared Grebner Show from here at the Germantown Grill. Got a bite to eat before we went on the air. It's always good to come here, and it's a lot of fun.
And thank you to them for the pizzas that they help provide for our playoff pairing show. The kids gobbled those up right away, and so it's always a great place to grab some food.
Yes, it is. Player of the game went with Stephen Petrie. Stephen Petrie had an outstanding game. At times he looked like just a bruising Ricky Alves type fullback. Hard to believe he was a quarterback running some guys over, but he played awfully hard the other night.
Yeah, he just has kind of a gamer. He's always been a gamer for us. His attitude is just like, I'll get this done. And we ended up with like 28 carries for about 160 yards or something along those lines. I know that's not exact, but he was up there in his carries, and he likes those moments. He likes the ball in his hands. He knows that he can get those extra tough yards. He's not a guy that likes to really juke or go around anybody. I think he searches contact sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Every now and then, you're like, hey, just tone it down a little bit. Run out of bounds if you need to or whatnot. But he's done a great job for us all year long. He's a guy that we can lean on. One of many guys that we can lean on. But he can make things happen, that's for sure, with his feet and with his arm.
Best part of Stephen Petrie?
What's that?
He's a junior. He'll be back next year.
He's not a sophomore?
No.
No. You always like to have those guys that are leaders on the team. Leaders don't have to be seniors or anything like that. There's some guys that just lead. He brings a different personality to the football team. He knows when to be serious. He knows how to keep the guys loose. But he's just a fun guy to be around. He's a good athlete on top of it, a good student. And so when you have a guy like that who's smart with the football in his hands, talented with the football in his hands, it's the type of guy you want at quarterback.
This Saturday, you get on a bus and about a 10, 12-hour drive down to Centralia?
Seems like it. Little over 3, but
a little over 3. We'll be down there also.
Yep.
But you go down to Centralia to take on the first time the high school's ever played, I believe, Centralia in any sport, the Orphans. Mm-hmm. I don't believe we played them in football, basketball, baseball.
Not that I can recall.
No, I don't think we've played them in anything. You know what their girls' nickname is?
The Annies.
The Annies, yes. But you go down there. They've had a pretty solid year. This is their 10th appearance in the playoffs. I believe they've played like 16 games, something like that. They're a very young team. Their skill players are young. Their linemen are pretty experienced. But they've got some talent.
Yeah, you look at them across the board. They got good size up front. They got good speed, good quickness on the perimeter. They got a quarterback that can, sling the ball.
Freshman.
Yeah, freshmen. And the thing is, they're freshmen. They don't look like freshmen, that's for sure.
6'2", 210.
I mean, they're big. They look the part. And so those guys, have played some good competition. And so they're going to be ready. We got to make the long trip down there. But that's what the playoffs are all about. When you get to the playoffs, you're going to make some road trips. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to in order to reach the goals that you want to obtain. Yeah. And so this is the first step to our goals. We know that we're going to have to play well. against Centralia, they are going to create some interesting matchups. They're a well-coached team. In fact, their offensive coordinator, I went to McKendree with him, so I do know him and some of those guys just from the college days there at McKendree. But it's always fun to go down there and play a different team, and see how we match up.
I believe their quarterback is the son of the head football coach. And he's a pretty solid player. They have a wide receiver that's also a freshman.
Correct.
A corner. Don't they have a running back that comes in and that's also a freshman?
And then they got the one, he's an underclassman, but he's fast and he's shifty. And so we'll have our hands full. Like I said, they can move guys in and out, even on the offensive side. They have that luxury with some depth there, with their size as well. Defensively, they'll do the exact same thing, depending on what looks the offense is giving them, and they can match personnel, whether it's size, whether it's speed. And so we're going to have our hands full, but we're going to go down there ready to play.
Yeah, they've made the playoffs for a reason. They're 6-3 like you are. I think they just had one more playoff point than you did.
Yes.
And but they've played. They've got a couple of impressive wins. Cahokia, one of them.
Cahokia beat them.
Cahokia beat them.
Yes.
That's right. Who was the good? They did have an impressive win against.
Let's see. So their 3 losses off the top of my head was Waterloo, Cahokia, and Collinsville. And then they beat Mount Vernon. They beat Marion, where we went down there.
Marion was a pretty impressive win.
3 years ago, and so they've played some good teams. They are able to do a lot of different things offensively, whether it's running the ball or whether it's attacking you through the air. And so, like some other teams we've played in the middle line, they make you defend them sideline to sideline. Yeah,
and they've got passing and running, so they're going to be pretty diverse.
Correct.
When you look at that 5A field, a pretty solid 5A class, though. They're, from top to bottom, there's some really good teams.
Yes. There's good matchups all around when you look at it. Whether it's the northern bracket or the southern bracket, that's what you expect when you get to the playoffs is good matchups. Just let the best team win. I know everybody's, it's kind of cliche, but everybody's, playing for,
the next week.
For the next week. You're not guaranteed anymore.
No.
As I was telling kids, we don't get any mulligans. You don't get any do-overs. I know you technically don't get any do-overs, like, for after week 3 or after week 5 or whatever it is. Technically, you do have games still on your schedule. There's nothing scheduled next week.
No.
And right now, there's nothing scheduled, and so
you have to earn it.
You do. We have to make sure that we play well. We play Metamora football so that we get something put on our calendar. We just want to try and make sure that calendar is clear, and that we try and get a home game for week 2. But right now it's just Saturday. It's Centralia, because in order to obtain your goals and stuff, you just got to take it one day at a time with practice, and then one game at a time. And right now Centralia's in our way of our goals, and we want to try and reach them. And so we got to put our best foot forward.
Yeah, they were the ones that drew the short straw.
Yeah.
They got us.
That's the way we got to look at it. But we're going to have to play well. They'll have to play well in order to beat us. It's two good teams. Both of us have had pretty good seasons. Of course, everybody would like a couple more wins here and there, but it's 2 evenly matched teams, and may the best team win come playoff time.
I think it'll be nice. It's somebody you've never played before. Mm-hmm. They've never experienced Metamora football. This will be your 100th playoff game in school history, and it's like their 16th.
Metamora, we've been fortunate to have a great tradition, to have a great community, to be able to support us with a good string of talent and players that have come through here, and really just a bunch of hardworking kids. Yeah. When you look at, when you say it's the 100th playoff game, that means that there's been a lot of people behind the scenes a lot of athletes behind the scenes putting in hard work. When it's dark outside at 5 o'clock in the wintertime, 6 o'clock.
It's gray on a Saturday.
and they're still up there grinding. But that's why you do it. I heard Brett Bielema say a couple weeks ago, you don't prepare for games like this, on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You prepare for the playoffs 365 days, 365 days a year. And that's what these kids do, and that's what a lot of kids do around the state is, they got to know, in order to be successful, you got to put in the time.
Yes.
And it doesn't mean that, you don't play other sports and stuff like that. We have a lot of multi-sport athletes, whether it's, wrestling, basketball, baseball, whatever it might be, track, that those guys, continue to be athletes for 365 days a year. And because that's just going to make you a well-rounded athlete and player. And there's always something that you can get from every single sport, whether it's footwork, leverage, ball skills, whatever it might be. And so our kids at Metamora really take pride in what they do. And they do it all year long, and no matter what it is. And when it's football time, they give us their all in football. And we're thankful for that. We're thankful for everybody that's come through the program, whether it's coaches, players, for all the parents that have helped out, because it truly is a community event.
For sure. One thing about Centralia, they are the winningest high school basketball program in the state.
It's something I did not know.
Yeah. And they did most of that in the 50s and 60s, but it's still something they can kind of hang their hat on. So, Coach, good luck Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Bring home a W, and we'll see you Saturday in Centralia.